You can add a REST endpoint in Drupal using views. In this tutorial, we'll add a REST endpoint display to a view of our baseball player content. With the help of some core Drupal modules, you can add a custom JSON endpoint to a Drupal site. In our case, we want to make our set of baseball players' data consumable by other websites or apps. We'll do this by adding a new REST export display to our existing baseball players view. To best follow along, you should have already gone through the steps in our Setup Demo Site with Views and Content tutorial. This will get you up and running with a Drupal site preloaded with the content and views we'll be querying in this series of tutorials. And if you're new to views, you might find it useful to read through these two concept tutorials from the Drupal user guide before continuing. These are Concept Uses of Views and Concept The Parts of a View. Links are in the written version of this tutorial. First, let's install the required modules. Log in using admin, navigate to Extend, which is at the path admin/modules. Locate the Web Services group of modules and select the checkboxes next to RESTful Web Services and Serialization. Then select the Install button at the bottom of the page. Now the type of display we want to add will be available to us. Head over to Structure, then Views. You should see the baseball players view listed. Select the Edit operation. Now this takes us to our baseball players view. Select this Add button, then REST Export. The page reloads and now we have a new display called REST Export. There will be an asterisk next to the name of our display, which means we haven't saved the view yet with the latest changes. Our latest change is adding this new display. We also see an error message that says the display uses a path, but the path is undefined. We'll take care of that in a moment. Take a look at the Format section on this view. The selected format is Serializer, which means the output for this display is going to be text that represents a more complex data structure. Select the Settings link right next to it. Here we can configure our serialization format to be JSON. Under Accepted Request Formats, select JSON, then select the Apply button. Now let's take a look at this Show format. Right now it's set to Entity, but we'll change it to Field so that we have more control over the data provided to the REST export display. On the next window, we get a list of fields, and we have the opportunity to add aliases to any of these fields. This could be useful in simplifying or clarifying the output of the JSON output for consumers. But for now, we'll select the Apply button without configuring any aliases. All right, now let's get to that display path. We'll be setting up a public API endpoint, so select No Path is Set in the middle column here underneath Path Settings, and enter the following: API/v1/baseball-players. It's best practice to include a version number in the path for your API endpoint. Select the Apply button and let's preview the output. It looks like a lot of plain text code, which you might recognize as JSON. This is exactly what we want. We've successfully created a REST export display that outputs JSON data using views. Save the view by selecting the Save button. Now let's take a look at the view from the path we configured earlier. Navigate to your localhost URL and tack on API/v1/baseball-players. I'm using a browser plugin that makes this JSON output easier to see. It's in a prettier and more easy to read format, but you might just see it as a text blob of JSON data. In this tutorial, we installed a couple of Drupal core modules and we added a custom JSON endpoint to a Drupal site using Views REST export display.